Okay, my people of faith, let's take another walk. I'm going to talk on the subject of dimensions. We're hearing a lot about dimensions, and over time we have heard things about dimensions. I want to tell my people of the believers and my people of faith and Jesus to be careful with the knowledge and information, the understanding, even you want to say the insightful revelation of it. You want to be careful with entertaining such. The average perception of talk of dimensions is not about heaven, but it's about hell in that perspective. The average person, or I can say average person, but the average interpreter is high. They seek earthly riches. They seek earthly gain. They are already high in knowledge of death. There is no love stemming from their perception or connection to that dimension or to a heavenly paradise of a dimension. Their dimension is from suffering. If that's not the case, then why does this substance or this source offer the substance of death? Does life come out of them? Don't mistake information or untold information as life or acceptable information or acceptable knowledge, because it's not. The only true knowledge that it should be permitted and allowed inside your soul, that's your mind, will, emotion, intellect, and imagination, is something that liberates the soul from death. If the information is putting you in death, what is death? Death is anything that's robbing you of peace of mind. The impact of slavery is not ethnicity. It's not in I can't get the word out. In ethnicity. I can't get the word. I am tongue-tied. Wow. Tongue-tied. It's not caught up in ethnicity. It's not caught up in race. It's not caught up in sight. That's all death related. Anything that's containing towards the natural flesh or the natural order is death related. So if it's anything that's going to appease and please the flesh or the natural or physical perspective, it's representing death. We want something higher, something to have conquered death, which is something would be of life. In every movie, every cartoon, or every analogy that we have entertained in us, the circular media, whether it's through song, whether it's through literature, whether it's through any format, it's always good versus evil. We know good and we know evil. Why would the soul want to decide with the perception of evil when it only puts you in torment, toiling, turmoil, torture, agony, misery, and pain? This is where all our slavery comes from. It, like I said, it goes past the whole ethnicity barrier. It's a spiritual slavery. And knowledge can be spiritual slavery. You're taught to fear. You're taught to hate. You're taught to manipulate. You're taught to abuse your body. We're taught these things because there's no love there. If a person is teaching you how to honor yourself, how to honor your neighbor, how to honor, let's say your body, your soul, your spirit. If it's teaching you how to honor that, you're talking about the point of life. So I always want to talk about that briefly, about being careful about dimensions. Dimensions is outside of the natural realm. Everything that you can see with the physical, you're talking about the senses, you're talking about shapes, you're talking about sizes, you're talking about images. Anything that the imagination can be affected in death, we're talking about the natural law. And this is where a lot of people escape. When they get high, they go past this dimension, but they go to a dark dimension and they say they can see. But what comes out their mouth next is always of pain, anger, anguish, defeat, misery. Is always from that stem. And you could dress it up or make it deceptive to make it sound good, make it sound appeasing, be good enough to eat, which is not. It's just death. The same way Lucifer or Satan, the devil, has entertained Adam and Eve, is the same way he does it with us. Beware of the conversation of dimensions. The only dimension that you want to focus on is the death, the burial, and the resurrection. That's the only way any person deserves your submission. If they can conquer death, if they can conquer your pain, if they can conquer agony, if they can conquer defeat without causing you misery at the same time. If getting high, I'm not talking about marijuana or cocaine or anything like that. I'm just talking about rising above the natural problem or your natural problems. If not addressing the natural problem is escaping, which means it puts you further in bondage into a pit. And if anything, it is enticing or anything that is inviting to that nature is actually causing you more damage of hell or more damage of death than actually giving you or granting you the abundance of life. It needs to be something you need to hold on to or gravitate to, something that's more powerful that eradicates it, that it never existed. The death, the burial, the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Be blessed, my people of faith.